Hi there, everyone, and thank you for joining us. We are going to give folks a few minutes, actually 1 minute, to get in the room. I've been told that I start too fast, so we got to give folks time for Zoom technology to get fired up and get their audio and video all working. So bear with me in this 45 seconds of silence as we get going. All right, I think we've got about 20 seconds until we're going to get going. Thanks for your patience, just letting people connect over Zoom. I know that sometimes takes a while. All right, hello, Lisa. Yuka, Ben. All right, I think we're ready to get started, and I think I waited a full minute this time. So hello, everyone, and welcome to Mowing Electric, the Electric Lawn Care 101 series. Depending on where you found out about this webinar, you might have seen that it is our last time we are featuring electric lawnmowers this summer. Future events will be focused on things like leaf blowers and chainsaws, but tonight we will be talking almost exclusively about lawnmowers, looking under the hood of a bunch of lawnmower models. My name is Jo Olson. I'm with Fresh Energy, and we are co-hosting today this event with Shift to Electric and the American Lung Association. So first, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping. I'm sure at this point you all have been on Zoom a lot, but I just want to remind folks to please use the Q&A button at the bottom of their screen to submit any questions. At the end of the presentation, that's what we'll be using mostly. I try to look at chat, but if it's in Q&A, we'll definitely get to it. So go ahead and submit that question or questions that you have whenever you think of them. They will automatically just line up in the Q&A. And if you see someone else's question that you like, if you give it a thumbs up, it will let us know that you want to hear the answer to that question too, and push it to the top of the list. Again, Q&A is better than chat, so please try to use that button as we go through the night. So I'm going to change slides here and introduce our guests. We've got Yuka Kukkonen with Fresh Energy and Shift to Electric. We're going to be seeing an awful lot of his garage tonight. And we'll also be hearing from Lisa Thurston and Ben Sosin with the American Lung Association. And Lisa, maybe you can say a little bit more about this. But Ben has been with us for all of our summer yard care webinars, and he's been just fantastic. But tonight is his last night. He is a Green Corps service member serving with the American Lung Association, and he put together a lot of the information that we'll be using tonight to help you make an informed decision about your lawnmower. So Lisa, I'll let you say more as the person who works directly with him.
Yeah, Ben came to us with a little experience with the alternative fuels and has just jumped in with both feet. His service time was 11 months, and we went from having a ton of events planned and then going into COVID, and he shifted his workload and ideas into how to keep reaching out to people virtually, and was just his tools that he'll talk about a little bit are not only valuable here in Minnesota, but as well across the nation too, with other coalitions and organizations similar to the work we do. And we can't say thank you enough for your time with us these 11 months, and you will be missed. So thank you, Ben.
And 3 cheers for law school. Or no, wait, med school, not law school.
Yeah,
surprise, you're going to law school. Okay, so we're going to be talking about a lot of different electric lawn care topics tonight. They're going to be going into a lot of detail about types of lawnmowers, the health effects of, I guess, gasoline-powered lawn equipment. But first, before we dive in, I want to launch a poll. So you all should have a poll pop up on your screen that says, were you planning on purchasing an electric lawnmower before attending or registering for this webinar? So this helps us know how many people are kind of at a decision point, or maybe just in the research phase right now of determining if they want to go electric with their lawn care. I'll give you folks a couple seconds to fill that out. As you can see on the screen, also we'll be covering electric technology of electric lawn care, clean air and health benefits, lots of other benefits that we'll be discussing as well, discussion about which electric lawnmowers are on the market, how to choose the one that's right for you in your yard, and then also care and maintenance. And it looks like 20 of 20, 100% you guys. It's the first time I've had everyone answer the poll, so I'm going to end that. Thank you. And I'm going to pass things over to Yuka.
Share the results first for the group so they.
Oh, I can. Okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of unsure. That's kind of fun. So make sure if you're unsure, or, well, no matter what, be sure to submit your questions in the Q&A, because I think these folks who are on the panel tonight can answer any and all of your questions with their personal experience and then technical know-how as well. Yuka, it's your turn officially.
All right, thank you, Joe. That's great. Thanks for opening our webinar here. And I said, my name is Jukka Kukkonen, and I'll be talking from my garage. You can see all kinds of equipment behind me, so I'll go hands-on a little later on those. First, I wanted to share with you a couple of words about the technology and how that has advanced and why we have better, especially the battery technology available for lawn mowers. It's the same with electric cars. I usually talk about the electric cars. I do webinars and training about electric cars a lot, but right now with the COVID, since people are sometimes using their lawnmowers more than they're driving their cars, we decided, hey, it's good to talk about electric lawnmowers too, because that's a great option as you will hear the benefits. One of the big things there is a battery tech that has really advanced. So that has provided us long-range EVs now and also great electric lawnmowers. So the battery price has dropped dramatically in the last 10 years. If you look at, for example, this kind of a battery that I have here, that is for the, oh, that's funny. My picture is really funny here. Let me correct this one. It thinks that I have a virtual background, which
You look
is
just
not true.
You look just fine. Oh,
yeah,
actually,
look at that.
Yeah, that's a little weird.
I can see through that one. So I'll just have to chase that one and then go back here. Now it's totally messed up. Let me change this one here. None. And now you can see me better.
Yes.
Right.
Yep, that did the trick.
All right. Anyways, battery like this 10 years ago would have cost probably close to $300 to $400. And now manufacturing something like this is probably $50. So that's the difference. The battery price has come so much down that now we can use them in electric lawnmowers and other equipment. That's an important thing. The other thing that we are also seeing that right now is our electricity is advancing very quickly to renewables. So electric utilities are moving their production away from fossil fuels into renewable energy. So you can see, for example, Excel Energy's carbon emissions, how fast they are dropping and continue to drop in the future there. So that's another great advancement. So in addition to being able to be more energy efficient with electric lawnmowers and other units, the emissions are also lower because of the energy that you're getting will be cleaner every day. Good. You can move to the next slide here. I think it's there. So I'll let Ben and Lisa continue here to tell a little bit about their air quality and electric lawn equipment in Minnesota.
Great, thanks, Yuka. So as Joe said, my name is Lisa Thurston, and also tag teaming with me today is Ben Sosen, who is our Minnesota Green Corps member for a few more days, serving at the American Lung Association. And just again, thank you for all your time, Ben. We're going to talk today about air pollution associated with lawn care equipment, what kind of emissions are created, and why you should pay close attention to this. Next slide, please. So before I get to the issue at hand, I wanted to take a moment to address why I, from the American Lung Association, am involved in air quality. The American Lung Association mission is to save lives by improving lung health and preventing lung disease. One strategy under that is to improve the air we breathe so that it will not cause or worsen lung disease. And our office in St. Paul also coordinates the Twin Cities Clean Cities Coalition, which is one of nearly 100 coalitions throughout the country in the U.S. Department of Energy's Clean Cities programs. Coalitions are made up of stakeholders working to foster the nation's economic, environmental, and energy security in working locally to advance affordable domestic transportation fuels, energy efficient mobility systems, and other fuel saving technologies and practices such as this webinar today. So this is done through the use of alternative fuels such as biofuels and electricity, and other strategies that reduce our country's dangerous dependence on petroleum. Next slide. So Minnesota does have pretty good air quality compared to many of the other metropolitan areas, and our flatter geography helps us, allowing our pollutants to blow away to our neighboring states. And this is easier than if we had mountains and valleys that held them in. What many people don't realize is that emissions from mobile sources, the vehicles and equipment that we use most every day, are the single largest source of pollutants in Minnesota. And that's why we focus on our efforts on fuels and vehicles. Next slide. So looking at where Minnesota stands, as you may know, the Environmental Protection Agency sets standards or limits for the amount of each pollutant that can be in the air without endangering health. Every 5 years, EPA is required to review these standards and decide if the most recent science shows that they should set lower standards in order to protect health. For ozone, that review happened in 2015, and in fact, their science review panel had found that scientific studies demonstrated a need to lowering the standard to the current 70 parts per billion. As a health organization, the Lung Association believes a level of 60 parts per billion would be best for protecting the health of Americans. While some communities are currently close to that 68 parts per billion, as you see in the chart here, none exceed it at this time. And so as long as we continue to keep our air pollutants at this level, we will remain in attainment. But keep in mind that that doesn't mean that the air quality is as healthy as it should be. So the other pollutant, particulate matter, is in a similar situation to ozone as shown in this chart, where our current levels in Minnesota bump up near the standard recommended to the EPA by the Clean Air Science Advisory Committee. Again, we need to continue efforts to reduce levels of pollution in order to protect our health as well as remain in attainment. Next slide. So these numbers are very large and a little bit overwhelming when you look at them, and they only start to make sense when we look at the reality of lawn care in the United States. According to the Utah Department of Environmental Quality, each weekend about 54 million Americans mow their lawn, amounting to approximately 800 million gallons of gas used per year. The emissions from one 4-stroke lawnmower operating for 1 hour is equivalent to an average vehicle traveling 500 miles, or the emissions of 11 new cars running for an hour. And then lastly, at least 17 million gallons of gasoline are spilled annually just filling these lawnmowers. So by using electric, you're going to completely eliminate that problem right off the bat. So now I'd like to pass the presentation over to Ben to talk about these pollutants in a little more detail and some resources available. And next slide, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. According to the most recent study conducted by the EPA, gasoline-powered garden and lawn equipment emit a significant amount of pollutants. Over the course of 1 year, approximately 26.7 million tons of pollutants were emitted by gasoline-powered garden and lawn equipment. These are large numbers, and they are especially important considering that the source of emission is in such close proximity to the equipment operator. And while not everyone may think about the ways that their gasoline-powered lawn equipment impacts their health, I'd like to talk specifically about the health impacts of the 3 pollutants that folks are probably less familiar with: particulate matter, nitrogen oxides, and volatile organic compounds. Next slide, please. The particulate matter produced by gasoline-powered lawn equipment has a range of sizes, and the really small matter is of most concern, the particles that are smaller than 2.5 micrometers in diameter. This matter is called PM2.5, and you can see in this visual that 20 PM2.5 particles can fit across the width of a single human hair. PM2.5 can get into and irritate your eyes and airways. It's also small enough to get deep into your lungs and cause problems with the respiratory and cardiovascular systems. Short-term exposure to fine particles can cause coughing and wheezing. It can aggravate lung disease, trigger asthma attacks, and may increase susceptibility to respiratory infection. It has also been linked to heart attacks and irregular heart rhythms. Over time, breathing fine particles in the air increases the chances of developing chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD, chronic bronchitis, cardiovascular disease, and lung cancer. Next slide, please. Volatile organic compounds and nitrogen oxides that are emitted by gasoline-powered lawn equipment are significant pollutants because of their contribution to the formation of ground-level ozone. The volatile organic compounds react with the nitrogen oxides to create ozone molecules. UV radiation from the sun speeds up the reaction, which is why ground-level ozone production is higher on hot, sunny days. Exposure to ozone is likened to a sunburning of the lungs and can trigger or exacerbate asthma and other lung conditions, which can lead to emergency room visits and hospitalizations. Next slide, please. Using an electric lawnmower is a great way to reduce the pollution that you generate and that you expose yourself to. There are many currently available models, and we have compiled 2 information lists to help with your research. The first list is of battery-powered mowers that are currently on the market. Each row is a particular mower, and each column is a piece of information about that mower. The second list is of electric corded mowers, and it has the same format. Both of these lists are available at www.electriclawninfo.org. For the battery-powered mower list, we have a total of 53 mowers from various manufacturers, and we've included up to 3 mowers from each manufacturer. If the manufacturer offers more than 3 models, we chose 3 mowers that span the range of that manufacturer's available prices. The first mower will be lower cost, the next will be in the middle of the available price range, and the last will be on the higher cost end. Now I'll quickly run through the information we have on each mower. The first column is the name of the manufacturer. Clicking on the name will take you to their website. Next, there's the model number of the mower and a photo. We have the cutting width, maximum cutting height, weight, and the battery size or amp hours of each battery. If more than 1 battery is sold in the package with the mower, this information is also in the battery size column. If you get 2 batteries, the sheet says 2x, and if you get 4 batteries, the sheet says 4x. There's the voltage, the battery capacity or watt hours, whether or not the mower is self-propelled, and whether it comes with a collection bag. Finally, there's information about the MSRP, the length of the warranty on the mower, and what other outdoor equipment is compatible with the batteries that are bought with the mower. Almost all of the batteries used in these mowers can be used with other outdoor equipment produced by the respective manufacturer, so we have listed what other equipment you can use the batteries in. There's a key found at the bottom of this list that will tell you what the abbreviations in this column mean. They're pretty intuitive. CS is chainsaw, HT is hedge trimmer, and so on. The information list on the electric corded mowers is very similar, except it lacks the battery-related information and tells you the amps, voltage, and watts of the mower. We have a total of 19 mowers on this list. And with that, I'll hand it back over to Yuka.
All right, thank you very much. And thanks, Ben, for putting together that list. That is really awesome. If you think about it, all the information that he has put into that list, and over 50 battery lawn mowers and about 20 corded ones. So, and you didn't even include all of the options that the manufacturers provide. So we're getting closer to 100 options for people to choose from. And that's pretty great. If you think about a few years back, we might have found a couple of electric lawn mowers. Nowadays, there's plenty of options for people. So that's why it's good for us to talk about the topic, and thanks for putting that together. So I wanted to get back to the electric lawnmower benefits. First of all, there's much less energy used because the electric drivetrain in electric cars or in lawnmowers is so much more efficient than internal combustion engines. So you're using much less energy for it, and we'll come back to that a little later. There's no emissions when you're using it. That's good for you as a user. It's great for your neighborhood. It's great for the city and the planet. If you think about it, usually people use their lawnmowers in a nice days when otherwise it's a great day, and then just someone just like cranks up the lawnmower and starts to spew the emissions into the air. And when you have more of those going, and those things really produce bad stuff. It's much worse than stuff coming out of the car. So small engines are extremely bad. That's why no emissions is important. They're much quieter. Of course, good for user and the neighborhood. So you don't have to listen to, neighbors don't have to listen to you mowing your lawn, and you don't have to listen to your neighbors mowing the lawn. It's nicer in that way. Less vibration, definitely. And then you don't have to mess with the gas. You don't have to go and buy it. You don't have to store it. And you don't have to have smelly equipment in your garage. I have here all of these equipment in my garage. They don't smell at all. There's no off-gassing, nothing whatsoever. So that's nice. That's really, really nice. They always start, so you don't have to worry about that portion. They're cheaper to use. Again, they use very little energy. And also the easy maintenance makes sure that you don't have to spend time and money for the maintenance part of the things. They're also lighter in weight, especially when you, with the battery mowers, you can also take the battery off. So it's very easy to handle because you can take the battery off and put the battery, for example, charger, and then the mower is pretty light after that. So that's good. And they are easier to store because they can be usually stored upright. You can't usually pull up the gas mower upright anywhere because then you have problems with the oil and gas leaking and stuff like that. With electric lawn mowers, no problem with that. So those are some cool benefits of electric lawn mowers. Could I get the next slide, please? So first question, of course, is are you going to buy a corded or cordless? And corded one is always the more affordable option. They are from $100 to $200 as new. You can find used ones when people have upgraded for $50. I think Lisa just said that she bought one for $10. So you can't really beat that. That's really, really good in that way. The price-wise, they're of course always the better. They are very light because you don't have the battery at all there, but you have to have accessible outside outlets. So that's you have to look into that if you have nice outlets outside by your lawn so you can actually use it. And then you have to deal with the cord. If you can do that, that's fine. In case you don't want to deal with the cord and you don't have outlets, then battery mower is definitely your choice. So you don't want to deal with the cord. And if you want to have a self-propelled mower, then also cordless ones are the better choice. And then you can use the batteries for other yard equipment like Ben said. So that's also always a plus with these ones. So they are a little bit, I mean, much more convenient and easy to use because you don't have to deal with the cord. That's definitely that. And they are not that expensive. If you look at the list of what Ben put together, they are comparable in price for internal combustion engine ones and actually cheaper than some of the higher end internal combustion engine ones. So you're really not, you don't have to pay premium to go in electric anymore. All right, next slide, please. So then continuing with the how to choose a lawnmower, I would recommend think about a little bit about what's the size of your lawn. It's pretty easy with the standard city lots. For example, here in St. Paul, standard city lot is 40 by 120, so it's 48,000 square feet, or 4,800 square feet, not 1,000. Then you take the, for example, in my case, the house size is 800, garage might be 400, little driveway, sidewalks, other things. You're about 3,000 square feet after that. In my case, I actually went outside, took a measuring tape and just measured the whole lawn that I had, and I ended up with 2,800 square feet. It took me 15 minutes, so it's not a big process and doesn't need advanced math. So you can do that. And then you can also think about how often do you mow and how much do you cut each time. So considerations here is the battery capacity. So if you have depending on how big your lawn is how much battery capacity you need to be able to mow the whole lawn. And I come to that in the next slide here. Then you can think about the deck diameter. How wide of a deck do you need for your mowing? In my small city lot, I could easily go with the smallest one. There's no need for me to have a bigger one. Then it's easier to store too. But if you have a bigger yard, then you want to consider a bigger deck so that you can mow faster your lawn. And if you cut rarely and then you cut usually a longer grass, then you should consider choosing a higher voltage. It's not a big deal anymore. Usually even lower voltage ones have so much power that it's not an issue. But in case that's usually how you do it, I would say at least consider going with a higher voltage in that case. Next slide, please. There. So let's talk about the battery capacity. I already mentioned that depending on your lawn size, the battery capacity is what you want to look into. And many of the battery or lawn mower manufacturers just talk about the amp hours. They talk about 4 amp hours or 6 amp hour batteries. And what does that mean? Can you compare amp hours to amp hours? You really can't, because you have to take the voltage into account. But math is, again, not too complicated. You just calculate the battery capacity by multiplying the volts with amp hours. Like, for example, this battery that I have here, that you have a picture there, 56 volts times 5 amp hours is 280 watt hours. So usually when you look at this list, you can see the different watt hour ratings or capacity for these, and they usually range between 100 to 400. There are some more commercial and more expensive ones that have over that, even 800 watt hours of battery. But that's what you can use there. And I have this rough calculation recommendation that I would say take the watt hours times 15, and you get the roughly square footage that you can use for your lawn size. So if you have a 3,000 square feet, as we have had in a previous slide as an example, 3,000 square feet lawn, then I would say 200 watt hours would probably be a right battery size for it. This might be a little bit conservative number, so don't trust me fully on that. But at least if you see that it's going, that you have that 3,000 square feet, you definitely don't need necessarily 400 watt hour battery. And the cool thing about this is that you don't have to make the decision now. You can just buy the lawnmower with the one battery that comes with it. If you later decide that, hey, I need the second battery, you can go and buy it. It's that easy. You just add another battery, and that's that. So then continuing with the math and science here, 1,000 watt hours makes 1 kilowatt hour, and 1 kilowatt hour electricity costs about 12 cents. So if your average city lawn is 3,000 square feet and it takes about 200 watt hours to mow it, and if you assume some charging inefficiencies and battery inefficiencies, let's say that you need 250 watt hours to charge it. This means that you can mow your lawn 4 times with 1 kilowatt hour. That costs you 12 cents. And continuing the math, you can mow average city lot 33 times for $1. So that tells you how cheap it is really to use these electric lawnmowers and how little energy they use compared to old internal combustion engine mowers. Could I get the next slide, please? So other considerations, self-propelled or not. In my yard is so flat that I don't have any use for it. If you have a hilly yard or you have a big lot, then you could consider self-propelled. I saw some testing that was done, and they said actually if you want to mow your lawn quickly, self-propelled makes you a little slower because you usually can walk faster than that. So that's a one consideration there. Collecting or mulching or both. So many of these have the collecting bag, so you can collect that. But if you do cutting often, you cut very small portion of the grass, then mulching is usually the better way to do it, because then you don't lose them. It can be used as a fertilizer for the lawn. Some of these models have automatic blade speed adjustment, which means that usually it runs the blade, cutting blade in a slower spaced speed there. But then if it hits a very thick grass, then it increases the speed. So it adjusts it based on what's the need, and that way conserves even more energy. Cutting height adjustments, usually they are from 1.5 inch to 4 inch. So depending on how you want to keep the grass, you can look into that if you have any special interest there. Weight of the units are between 35 to 90 pounds. So as I said, they are usually lighter than internal combustion engine ones, but take that into account. Like in my case, I would actually want to have the lightest one, because I don't need a big mower. So whatever is the lightest is also good for me too. Lighter it is, easier it's to work with. And then the warranty varies from 2 years to 5 years. And again, that's information is found on that list that Ben put together. And then other equipment are using the same batteries. So trimmers, hedge trimmers, leaf blowers, chainsaws, snow blowers, other hand tools even. Usually, well, so far I don't know that we have any manufacturers that are sharing batteries with each other. So if you choose Ego lawnmower, then the other units using the same battery have to be from Ego 2, the same with the Steel and Toro, whatever it is. So take that into account. Look at, if you know that you'll be using other toys too, other tools, then look at what other tools are available, and if those are the ones that you like, and then take that into account when choosing the mower. And you might be buying the trimmer first, and then going to the mower after that, and still be able to use the same battery. Also, in some of the manufacturers, they might have two different battery lines. So they might have let's say 24 volt and 40 volt battery lines, for example. So make sure that you get the one that you like, that uses the same batteries as the other equipment do. Next slide, please. Care and maintenance. This is pretty easy for electric lawnmowers. So after you're done with your mowing the lawn, just clean up the deck there so that it's clean. At the same time, you can check the blade. That's easy to do. But before you do either of these options, just remove the battery so you don't have any just for safety reasons. The same with if you have a corded one, just unplug the cord and there's no problem. Then you don't have any possibility of the blade moving there. And when you store this unit for the winter, I would recommend leaving the battery to 3/4 charged in the fall. And then you can check the charge level once or twice in the winter time and charge it if needed. Usually you don't need to charge it. I've left these over many winters, and you can hardly notice that anything had happened over the winter, but you can check it once or twice during the winter if you want to. Some of them, for example, this battery just shows a light that it's green. Okay, this doesn't tell me much. So if I would want to check what's the state of charge of this one, I would have to plug it into the charger, and the charger then, in this case, has meter up here that tells me what the state of charge of the battery is. So that's one way to do it. Some of the other manufacturers might have display here on the battery. So this one tells what's the state of charge by how many lights are lit there on that display. So those are kind of nice features when you want to check out how much your battery is charged. Could I get the next slide, please? Other options than just the push mowers, you can consider robot mower options. And these ones are practically units that you put out in the spring and take in the fall. That's at least the idea. It keeps grass mowed all time, so it every day goes and cuts the grass. And kind of some of these units actually have just like a razor blades, very small blades, because they cut so little, so they don't have to be really doing too much work. They just keep on doing it all the time. So they do excellent job with it. Your grass stays level all the time. They go automatically to charge. So they just decide when it's time for them to charge, they go back to their charging station that is by the house or by the garage. So they're very convenient, very easy to use there. They can work on pretty steep hills too. I've heard those people who have started using these, they're like, yep, never going back. These are just so easy and convenient that they have liked them a lot. The challenge is that they're a little bit more expensive. These ones start usually from $1,000 upwards because they are robots, so to say. So that's that. But if I would have a really big lawn, I would actually consider this one, because then I wouldn't have to be spending hours mowing my lawn. I would just let the robot to do it every day. And you can set them up so that they will, what time do you want them to mow during the daytime, or do you want them to mow in the nighttime? Or if it starts raining, they have a rain sensor, they usually go back to the shade and all of that. So they're pretty intelligent. I'm sure they're getting more intelligence every year. Next slide, please. They're also riding mowers. There starts to be a decent number of these available, I think, and we have on our electriclawninfo.org website, we have links to some of these electric riding mower comparisons and resource in there. And Ben has been putting together a list of these. How far are you with that, Ben? Do you have any idea of how many models are available right now?
I haven't counted the models, but it should be done and finished by the end of this week. So
But is it 5, 10, 15?
Oh, it's over 20.
Okay, that's cool. So every year we've seen more of these. A couple of years ago, I didn't even know that these existed, and now, boom, there's over 20. So that's great. Next one, please. All right.
All right, my turn to talk. We're gonna go into your garage. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we are going to highlight Yuka's video so everyone can see it a little better. And as you can see, he's got an array of equipment behind him. And Yuka, I think it's time to go under the hood.
All right, well, let's talk about the different options here. First here, I have a 15-year-old, I think, corded mower. But this is a good example of how simple the corded mowers are. You have the switch here. I just walk a little bit up forward here so you can actually see me. There. So you have the switch up here. That's where you put the cord here. You have a one power cord coming down here. And then underneath here, you just have a motor. So I can actually lift this one up because these are so light that even I can lift them. So that's how simple it is. It has one simple motor there, and that's all. It doesn't get more simple than that. And of course, on the other side, you can see the blade there on the cutting deck. So that's the cool thing about electric lawnmowers. They can be extremely simple. So that's why you don't need much maintenance for any of this. This one has a one-hand height adjustment here. So it's easy to adjust that. And I'm sure these ones you can find used for $10 when someone is upgrading to a battery mower. But just as an example of the simplicity. The next one I have here, an Ego, which is, and by the way, why do we happen to have these equipment here? Because I just happen to have these, or my neighbor has some of these. So we are really not presenting these that this is better than that necessarily. These are just representative of these. So look into the reviews and choose which ones you like. So this is actually, I have this Ego, but I'll show you the features on this one and you can kind of see what there is. So again, easy way to just pull out the lawn bag here for collecting the clippings there. This one has, again, one handle here for the height adjustment. So that's very easy. The battery in this one goes inside here. So if I take the battery and I put it there, it's there. And this thing is ready to run. So that's how simple that is. If I take it out, that's how quickly that happens. This one has 3 height adjustments. Many of them do, so you can adjust the height of this a little bit, 2 or 3. This actually has just 2. The other one has 3. Anyways, and here you have the safety switch that you put in place, a safety key. So you push that one down and then you pull this one and then the lawnmower starts. So that's how that works. And with this one, and which is true for many of these, is that they're usually pretty easy to store. So this one, you open up these side clips here, close them again. You take this one in front here, you pull it up, and it's ready to store upright by the wall somewhere in a nice place. This also, since I've taken the battery out, I can also show you here. Then it's easy to clean here, this whole thing. And as you can see, I didn't do a very good job last time cleaning it. Sorry. But then you can also look at what's the shape of the blade, and you just open that bolt to remove the blade if you need to have it sharpened. So again, that's the maintenance items for these mowers. So that's there. Then I have next here Eco lawnmower. These are both. That was 20-inch deck. I think this is 21-inch deck unit. The same way, very easy to pull this collection bag out of there. This one actually has slots for 2 batteries. So these are the batteries that this one uses. So you can put 2 batteries in there in place. And this one actually it uses just 1 battery. And you have here kind of a key that you can use to choose which battery you are using. So if you have 2 batteries, you can put 2 batteries in there, and then this key chooses which one you're using. Either you're using the left one or the right one. I don't actually know which way you guys are seeing this. Is it left or right? But anyways, one way. Wherever the arrow is pointing, that's the battery that you're using at that point. So that's how this works. This one is not exactly as easy to stow away. You have to actually open up the screws here. It's not that complicated still. And this one has the individual tire adjustment, the height adjustment. So each wheel has its own adjustment. It of course takes you 4 times more time to do it, but it still doesn't take too long. And some people actually like this one because they say they can adjust it one side lower than the other if they need to go on some edge. So matter of preference, whatever you like in your lawnmower. So that was Eco. Then actually I can go probably to the trimmers. We have here 2 trimmers. We have a Ego trimmer here. This is just a trimmer. It uses the same battery. So you just take the battery and plug it in place there, and this is ready to go. There. So that's how easy it is to work with these trimmers in that way. This is a very lightweight, very simple trimmer. Works great for my yard since I don't have a big yard. So this is pretty much perfect for me. Then we have for the Eco, we have a little different kind of trimmer. This is more heavy duty trimmer. The same way you put the battery back here with this one, but this is sturdier construction. And with this one, you can actually change that, open up this screw that you can see here, and then change the edge here. So you might be changing from the trimmer to some kind of edging or other equipment there. So they sell the different equipment. So that's an option also. When you look at these, you can look at if you can use this for different things, not just for the basic trimmer setup. I'll show you a head trimmer next here. So this one is a corded head trimmer. Some of them are the same. They would use the battery to put in there, but I truthfully use my head trimmer once a year probably. So corded one is good enough for me, and this cost me $30 on Craigslist. So that was pretty easy choice. But that also shows the longevity of some of these units. This is I don't know what the year is, but it definitely is over 10 years old. And the same with many of those lawnmowers, they just last. If I show you quickly, I'll talk a little bit about the blowers. This is my old blower. I just have to look at if I can find the date on this one. It doesn't tell me the date, but this is for sure over 15 years old. This, again, works just fine. But boy, this is noisy compared to the new one that I have now, which is a battery powered. And this battery powered is so light. This is a one finger hold there, and without the battery, then you put the battery in there, it weighs a little more than that, but it has a really nice adjustment of the speed. Then you have a turbo speed there, and just very easy to use. So definitely more convenient than the traditional one. But this traditional one has that advantage that you can actually collect stuff into the back, so you can also use it for suction in the fall if you want to use it for lawn collection. So that is the additional benefit from this one. Then of course we will have different kind of chainsaws. This one here I have for the in a pole, so you can use it for cutting branches. A very simple corded chainsaw, this one. But we'll be talking much more about chainsaws and blowers next time, so I don't go too much into details about these things, but very handy, easy to use. And then the last equipment that I have here are the electric snow blowers. And this one I bought from Craigslist again for like $75 last year. This is a corded model. So you have a cord here. This is Craftsman, and it looks like it's over 25 years old if you ask me. It sure is not new. It doesn't have a date here either, but this is a really, really old machine. Works like charm still. Always starts, no problem. Again, that's the advantage with electric lawnmowers. It did a really good job last winter, even in a heavier snow. I have in my garage, the roof drops all the snow from the bigger part of the roof right in front of our garage door. So sometimes it's pretty packed. And this one did an excellent job in doing that last winter when I was using it. This year, I actually bought then a battery powered unit that I haven't tested yet. So I don't know how well it does, but I've heard that it's pretty good. This one actually uses two batteries, the same kind that I showed you there. So you will take two of these and put them in here. And that's how this runs. It's a little bit lighter weight construction. So we will be talking much more about snowblowers later. Was it November when we are having a snowblower portion, or October?
Yes, it's snowblower exclusive in November.
Okay. Then we'll talk much more about snowblowers, and hopefully we'll get a little, well, I don't know. Some people will be upset if I say hopefully we'll get a little bit snow before that to test it. I don't know. We'll see.
You've already ruined it. It's going to happen.
But I have so many snowblowers in my garage now that I don't think it will snow this winter anyway. So that's probably the case. Yeah. So we'll talk more about those then. Questions, thoughts? What do we have here?
Yes, let's do, I think we're going to do a poll next. So I'm going to push our next poll to everyone. And I understand that we haven't done the Q&A yet, and that's what we're all here for. So I'm going to launch this poll, and you can answer it as you're ready. And note that I do say that the Q&A portion is coming up. So we just want to know which part of the presentation you find helpful. And while you're answering that, and do note there's a second question. Do you expect to purchase an electric lawnmower for your next lawnmower? While you're thinking about those, Yuka, do you want to talk about, oops, I'm going to share my screen here. Maybe you can talk about the upcoming webinars.
Yeah, so we're doing many cool webinars. That's a good thing. So we are on Thursday, you can join us for electric vehicles in Minnesota, you betcha, candid conversations with EV owners. So that's our EV owners panel. So we have 5 different EV owners actually broadcasting from their own garages and telling how they use their electric cars and how they charge it and so forth. So that'll be a good discussion. Join us. You can find the link to that at electriclawninfo.org, so you can register for that one. It's 6:30 on Thursday. Then on September 2nd, we'll have EV 101 presentation and talking about test drive challenge there at that time. And then on September 16th, we are then talking about the more about the mowers, blowers, and chainsaws. We have a guest talking about chainsaws. That'll be very interesting. I'm eager to hear about that. So those are some of the upcoming events that are next. But keep your eyes into our information. We will have more after that too. So we're not stopping there.
Yeah, and I'll share a link to all of those after this event. But I think without any further delay, we can maybe launch into the Q&A portion of the event.
Do you want to share the results first
I did. I think you just missed it.
Oh, sorry. I missed it.
You were
I'm
busy promoting the other events.
Yeah. I haven't even seen what the results were. But anyways, so people are
sounded like most people were thinking about it. Yep.
Oh, that's good.
Exactly.
Excellent. Very good.
So with that, I think we'll dive into some questions. I got a question via email, and I think it was from Daniel, and he is wondering about winter storage. Where should you store them? Depending on where you store your electric yard equipment, will it have an effect on its longevity?
Well, usually I would say that, I mean, as we talked about, just keep it keep it charged. Don't necessarily, as I said, don't charge to 100%. It's better to leave it a little bit less charged. So if you think about, for example, our cell phones use pretty much the same kind of battery technology. So when you get your new cell phone, these always come about 40% charged. And that would be probably the best for longevity of the battery if you want to pamper your batteries, really to keep it somewhere in the middle, not fully charged and not fully drained, but somewhere in the middle there. And that's why I said 3/4 is a good starting point there. And then for the location, I'd probably just take them in my basement. So in a cool but still warm area. I've truthfully left some of my batteries in my garage over the winter and nothing has happened to them. So I don't think that's a really bad thing. But again, if you want to pamper your batteries, keep them inside for that. And then of course, if you are getting a snowblower, the batteries work better if they are warmer. So if you use them in the winter time, or you use the blower to blow some snow sometimes, whatever you're using it, it's better to have the battery warm, just go outside, do the job and bring it back in again.
Great, thank you. I have one question, and I think this one's for Ben, kind of a question about the commercial list. So are the mean green commercial scale electric riding lawnmowers, that's like a weird tongue twister, on the list, your big commercial list that you're working on, Ben?
Yes, they are. The list is going to include both zero-turn mowers and non-zero-turn mowers, so they will be on there.
That's fantastic, thank you. And then Yuka, I think you left the batteries in one of your mowers. Would you mind turning it on so folks can hear how loud it is in the garage?
If I didn't leave anything, I can put one in. So let's get this one from the storage back to the working condition. So I take this one up, I'll pull this up here, lock it there, put the battery in there, and it should be ready. So we'll put this one, the key in there. I don't see what you see, but anyways, that's where it is. And that's it in a full mode. So
sounds like a loud fan.
Okay, yeah, that's what it sounds like. My neighbor said that he bought his electric lawnmower. He didn't want to use his internal combustion engine one. He felt like in the weekends he didn't want to start mowing 9 a.m. or something like that because he thought maybe the neighbors would be sleeping long, so something like that. But with the new one, electric ones, he can go out anytime and no one will even notice that he's out there. So that's good. It makes some noise, but it's definitely not even close to as bad as the internal combustion engine ones.
And Lisa, I know you recently upgraded that. The red one that's kind of hidden behind the chair right now is your old mower, and you recently got a new one. Would you say that there is a difference in volume between the two, or is it negligible?
I believe it's negligible.
Okay.
It's still a corded one as well. It's a bigger one and it has a bag, so it's a few more attributes on it. But
perfect. Okay. And then Bill is saying that he bought and used an Ego snowblower, which looks like the one that you have in your garage and having it used. He used it twice in Kansas City for a 2-inch and a 4-inch snowfall. He has a 100-foot drive that is triple wide and in some parts has a turnaround. The 2 batteries, because I think it uses the 2 at the same time, were just enough to complete the heavier snow. So they live on a busy plowed street, and I think this is like an endorsement of the product, actually, Yuka. I think he's, letting you know that it's going to do the trick. They live on a plowed street, and it sounds like the snow is pretty heavy, but it worked great. So yeah, you have a happy customer.
Yeah, that's great. I think that the batteries that come with this model, at least, I mean, I think you can buy it with different batteries, but usually they come with the 5 amp hour 56 volt batteries. So then you have 280 watt hours for that, and you have 2 of these batteries, so you have 560 watt hours of energy. So now everybody can do the math roughly of what you need for your, if that's big enough for your driveway whatever you need. In my case, yes, this definitely is enough. I have very little driveway. The challenge is that I have just very thick and hard snow here when it's packed. So I'll have to see how it works for that.
All right, well, so some electric lawnmowers, especially the battery operated ones, can be more expensive. Some of the corded ones are too. Is there any help from your utility company or the brands that do rebates? Is there anything that people should look into before they purchase to help mitigate that cost?
That's definitely a good point. There are many utility companies I think are looking into this because it's a great option for them to have their customers have more energy efficient appliances also in a yard, because that's what they have been advocating inside the house. Why not outside house too? And I know that right now, at least Dakota Electric and East Central Electric are providing rebates for purchasing of electric lawn equipment. So if you happen to be in their service territory, check that out. Or if you're in any utility company service territory, talk with them and see if they have any rebates already in place. And if they don't, tell them, hey, you should. This would be a good way for you to actually promote something that is healthy and good for everyone.
Customer demand is a real thing. All right, Jim is asking if battery-powered mowers have been out long enough to have a good reliability information. Like I'm thinking like a history, like do we have 5 years of battery life that we can kind of look at, or they're kind of explainers about the types of batteries that are better? I think you maybe mentioned in a past webinar that you replaced a really old battery recently. So
yes,
maybe if you can talk about that.
Show that one, yes. So all right. So here's old technology for you guys. This one here is a lead acid battery that was in 15-year-old lawnmower that my friend had, and he just told me that, hey, this lawnmower is not doing a good job anymore. What should I do? And I was like, just bring it over to my place. I measured it. So I realized that these batteries were bad. I went online, ordered new batteries for $80 and replaced them. Took me 15 minutes to do that. And now it's like brand new with that way. So that was the old battery technology. I don't think anyone is using lead acids anymore for these push mowers. Nowadays, it's all about lithium-ion batteries, which are much lighter and have much more power and energy density in them. And as we know, they're the same battery technology that has been used with the cell phones. Cell phones, of course, lose the batteries in every 3-4 years, something like that. But that's because these are used every day, and you're draining them from full to zero every day. That's not what happens with these. You use these once a week, couple times a month, whatever your use case is, and you usually don't even drain them to zero. So based on what we've seen, these last quite a bit. So I'm not too worried about that. What comes to the technology inside there, electric motors are definitely very reliable. I think it's more the electronic side that you might have some issues, but I haven't heard too much complaints about those. These are under warranty 2 to 5 years. So usually if something happens to electronics, it happens during that time, and then it's a warranty case. So I think you're well covered with these.
And then I think I saw on one of the photos that you shared in your presentation that the battery had the phone number for recycling directly on it. So if in however many years you need to replace the battery, there's manufacturer recycling options. Is that correct?
Yes, there are.
Okay, that's important.
I probably shouldn't tell you, but these things have 18650 battery cells inside them. They're very useful. If you do it yourself, you might want to open this. I'm not saying you should, but you could potentially do something like that and use the batteries elsewhere.
That's fodder for another webinar, Yuka.
Yep. You didn't hear this from me. This is just a very theoretical thinking here.
Sure.
Yuka, do you want to mention about the motors in the corded ones at all with replacement? The ability to replace the motors when
you can definitely replace the motors. I mean, they are not expensive either if you would ever need to. Very rarely you would come across any problems with the motors. And again, since they're under warranty, you would probably not play with it yourself. You just give it to the manufacturer and say, hey, this is not working. Can you fix it or provide me a new one? So that's usually how I would deal with those.
Great. So Bill is saying that he bought 2 cordless items that were reconditioned from the manufacturer, and I'm guessing because he didn't say they were problematic, that they worked out great. So I guess that's one route to go as well. I know that I have personally bought reconditioned laptops, and it's worked before, so I imagine it's just the same for this kind of product.
Yep.
Richard is asking, can an electric mower be operated with wet grass conditions?
Yep, no problem with that. Definitely no issues with that. The same way as a normal internal combustion engine ones. There really isn't any problems with that. And the same thing with even the corded ones. I would just definitely not go down there when it's heavy rain. I would not go and do that. But with the battery mowers, I wouldn't worry about it at all in that way. But you don't get good results in that way if it's raining anyway, so you don't necessarily want to do it. But wet grass, no issues.
Well, I suppose too, then you'd have to be extra diligent about cleaning them after. Is that right? Yeah. I don't do that, so. But I have like a real mower, so it doesn't matter. I mean, I guess it matters, but anyway, Paul says, my lawn has a lot of shade trees and they drop sticks. He tries to remove most before mowing, but he's wondering, how do electric mowers react to running over twigs and sticks?
I think pretty much the same way as some of the internal combustion engine ones. I think these ones can detect if there's a big like something that is stopping it very hard or something like that, and it turns off the power then. Okay. So that's kind of the safety feature that these have. The same with the snow blowers, is that they don't have the old snow blowers had a mechanical pinch there that was cut. With these ones, they actually electronically notice that and turn off the power if it's a really hard resistance there.
And that's the case with our yard, and that's exactly what happens. So.
Okay, perfect. Well, then another question. So a lot of the lawnmowers that are battery powered are also self-propelled. Does that feature eat up more battery? Like, are you liable to get less time out of one battery if you have that functionality on?
Yeah, it definitely uses some energy for that. How much, I unfortunately don't have experience of that, so I can't say how much. But I haven't heard anyone really complaining that they would have had a lot lower square footage because of that. So you have to take that into account. And for example, my calculation there said that non-self-propelling. So if you want to use self-propelling, just add a little more battery capacity there, and you'll be fine. One thing that is always, you have the options. You can either, for example, let's say that you have a 4,000 square feet or 6,000 square feet lawn, and you have just battery capacity for 4,000 square feet of mowing. So you realize that your battery is not going to last for the whole big yard that you have. You have 2 options. You can either buy another battery for it, or after you've done the first part, maybe the back of the yard or something like that, you just plug your battery in the charger and take a break. Just go and have some beverage and just enjoy the day, and then go back there a little later. So don't sweat about it too much. So it's totally how you want to approach it, how you want to do it. That's your choice.
Okay. Richard asks if moving companies will move large lithium batteries. I know they won't move some like household cleaning supplies. Are lithium batteries on the no thank you list for them?
I haven't heard anybody really complaining about that too much. And if you can order these delivered to your house, and they deliver it.
So they go through the mail.
Well, at least delivery companies take care of them. So I don't think that's a big issue in that way. Okay. But I'm not expert on that, I have to say.
You haven't moved a lot of folks.
Nope.
All right, so let's see. Daniel asks, will the robo mowers need an invisible fence around the perimeter? That's a great question that we actually haven't
Very
had
good
at all.
question.
How do they know when to stop? Are you just going to mow your neighbor's lawn?
That's exactly what you do there. You put the invisible fence, so you put some kind of a line there around your perimeter that they follow and make sure that they don't go over that one. So that's what you have to do. So you have to do a little preparation for your lawn with robot mowers when you start using them.
I suppose that's one of the reasons that they're slightly more expensive.
Yes, definitely.
All right. Jim says, earlier you mentioned that lithium-ion battery prices have decreased significantly. Is this due to battery technology or manufacturing volume? How much potential, pun intended, is there for future improvements? Well, yeah, and I know that like you probably can speak to this even as like an EV expert because it does cross both issues.
Yeah, we have really seen a good development, and that works for electric vehicles. It works for electric lawnmowers and other equipment. It works for storage. It works for grid storage systems. So it really helps us in so many ways when it comes to energy storage wherever you're using it. And it's a combination of those things. Chemistries have gotten better. Also, the economies of scale because of the larger manufacturing facilities have definitely helped there. They have also changed some of the cell sizes so that they are more economical to manufacture. That's going on there. But we've seen, I said, about 7 to 8% drop every year on this one. It's maybe slowing down a little bit, so I don't think it continues exactly like that indefinitely. But how far are we going to go there? I don't know. We are already pretty far. We're already in an area where we're starting to compete with oil directly, and when we are there, that practically takes care of the problem there.
Excellent. Well, I don't see any other questions that have come in. I don't have any in my email or in the chat. Are there any loose ends that any of you want to tie up before we say goodnight? All right.
Okay.
Well, yes, with that, I hope we see you all again either this Thursday for our EV owners panel webinar. Again, I'll send that information out in an email tomorrow, or for a future electric yard care webinar where we'll be talking about chainsaws with a guest expert who's probably spent more time with an electric chainsaw in the field than anyone else in the state. And I don't know how she'd feel about me saying that, but that's my story and I'm sticking to it. All right, with that, thank you everyone. Have a great evening.